This is called complementary. Simplicity for all that it is and all that it is worth is difficult for me to understand, and more in all, hard for me to truly accept. When people give me the smallest of things, I often carry the greatest depth of concern of why they chose me or what it is the true motive for such a thing. My brain has about 973 pieces, and each one looks so odd to even myself that it is hard to place them all together as a whole. I believe because as a child they were scrambled up and some pieces were taken from me, then replaced months or years later as they became unknown to me, so I became foreign to myself, which meant I didn't understand what I was capable of doing or understanding. Because when you're called stupid and dumb and weak for so long, you truly start to believe you are those things, especially if it is a parent or sibling calling you these things. Then you go out into the world and see other children and they call you these things. You don't realize it's just children being children. And when you hear other adults talking and looking at you, but they try to speak lower so you can't hear them, or look away so you don't know it's you who they are talking about, and you're thinking, I'm not an idiot. I can still see you, and I can still hear you. I'm standing right here in the open world, where your thoughts and ideas and feelings are just brushed off because their motives and desires are more important to them. And you go on year after year experiencing these same similar situations, these same judgmental statements, and it creates for you a world within your world, a place in your mind where you can occasionally find rest and solitude from those that don't really know your heart and understand your mind. Because the man that is silent is not the man that becomes egotistical. And in a way, that man or woman, or in this case myself, could never be comfortable making myself the center of attention or hold myself to a high standard of any sort as worthy. Because that would mean the degree means something and that the hard work has paid off and that maybe I am intelligent. But then when I am right at the door of believing I can be important amongst my friends and family, I remember I am a felon. I remember I was told I was stupid and retarded as a child and that if I don't straighten up, I'll end up in prison and eventually I'll end up dead. Every huge accomplishment to me has been a small disappointment to others that thought they were more important. To others that I thought were important to please in my life. When I brought home A's and B's, it was I should have had all A's. If it all became B's and C's, it was you're just lazy and you need to get it together. This is why it is hard for me to accept compliments about myself. Because I was never given enough growing up, and the few I had were usually setups to ask for the little things I did have. Sometimes I struggle with the reality of I finally managed to put down the gun and step away from the streets because I feel like I still have the gun in my hand. Only this time I'm aiming it at my head and my words away from self destruction. Because sometimes, even though I may like who I portray to be, I don't love who I feel like. I can tell myself all day, you are good for something. Look at what you have accomplished. You graduated high school. You managed to get a degree. You always kept a job of some sort. You always had your own place since you turned 18. You've traveled within the U.S. and performed shows and even met a few stars. You fell in love. You became a father. And you give your child real hope, real love, and security. Or do you? You're a good uncle. And your nieces and nephews tell you this all the time. You earn your construction trade in green technology. You've won amateur writing contests. You won professional contests. You dedicated to working out and staying healthy. You have a business plan, business goals of being a successful business owner and man. And yet, with all these things, all I can see is a label of or hear the tales of wasted talent in the man, not the human. I've been searching for myself for too long. I've been searching for someone to comfort me, but in truth, I would never hold that comfort as a genuine. Someone like me doesn't deserve to be comforted because I wasn't good enough as a boy to deserve it as a man. And when you ask yourself what that means to you, will you end up with the same result that I get daily? Someone like me. Who is someone like me? Who am I? I've never killed anyone. I've never raped anyone. I've never turned my head away from a friend who needed it. And sometimes I would even lend a stranger both those hands. Someone like me is broken. So there's a compliment for myself. I'm good at being broken. I'm good at being complex. I'm good at being vague. But you know what's crazy? Within these things, you miss that I am far beyond uncertain or inadequate, because within my mind, I am completely sufficient. So I guess in all seriousness, it's not that I don't accept the realms of real, that the compliments I may be given are truthful or genuine. I cannot accept that the door to the state of vulnerability has been exposed as open and that I may have to deal with emotion. I don't know whether to be thankful that it's not an insult or worry that this may be something good I've done or said or revealed. But because there's always that irritating but, why are you going out of your way to make me feel so special? When for years I've been told I'm not even average. I cannot accept that I fear being stupid so much that I will do all I can to prove that I will never be it. And sometimes my passion to be intelligent results in me doing the very thing I am trying to escape the grasp of doing by doing stupid things. Because allowing my emotions to overtake my actions and do violent things is dumb, and thus I am once again that child standing up being called stupid and dumb and being told that that is all I'll ever be. So once again, to accept the compliments that come here and there in my life is to accept that I am not vulgar. And I've been through so much that there are some days it's easier to believe I'm common than to believe I'm special. What you may perceive as criminal, I see as determined to survive and find equality. So I question the ability to be someone who is perceptible. So how then can I accept the glorification of being someone who is of value when I believe my only value is that I still value myself, even though I feel like no one values me? Because no judge ever cared for my thoughts. No significant other ever cared for my positive actions. No friend ever took notice of my efforts, and certainly no family member ever believed I could be anything I put my mind to, because my mind was nothing but dust balls and simplicity waiting to be occupied. I was only a vacated small little town run down by hooligans, and now that I am trying to build this new place of positive outcome, I'm still left sweeping away fragments of old self sorrow and self pity. And I have to be real with you. And I have to give you this so you can know that I will give you all of me if you would only but let me show you I'm more than what I'm giving you at this time. In the evasiveness of my cranium, my head is throbbing with thoughts, and it is like an itch that I cannot seem to quite get rid of. Follow me. For all the effort that I try, sometimes I just want to scratch that itch until I bleed, just to study its unique way of becoming and going from a silent irritation to a powerful obsession. And not many can grasp a hold of what I mean or what I'm feeling or thinking, even just writing this down as explanation, just to prove I'm sane, just to prove I belong, just to prove that I'm not worthless and that I am beautiful. So let me break it down. I want to scratch that itch, and in this case, the itch is being complimented and accepting it. And in my quest to figure out if the compliments I receive are fake or honest, thus is the study of the itch. The blood is the life of the compliments and the unique people who have observed me close enough to be something to compliment. I have went from the silent irritation, which is the silent child, No one understood to the powerful obsession, which is the voice that must be heard, seen, and felt. And after it is all said and done, hopefully, I will feel beautiful for it. These things that most people would say is no big deal are the biggest things to me because it is a treasure chest of gold and rubies for me to actually feel important to more than myself. Because for the longest time, I didn't believe anything I said or did was anywhere close to important. And because of it, I became envious of others who I watched and believed to be smart and good hearted and loving and talented and hardworking and honest and healthy and, of course, beautiful. Be it ignorant as it may or may not be, this is what a simple compliment triggers up for me mentally, trying to puzzle up 973 pieces of straight perplexion. And I don't want to blame my dad for the way I've turned out because I no longer have any doubts that he loves me. I no longer believe that I am a failure to him. So I am troubled while the effects of his very demanding and strict discipline are perpetual. These are the lonely moments where I go over in my head, am I anything other than a black man who is violent and from the ghetto and just another statistic added to the database? And what in this, if it is true, could possibly become something to give compliment to? It's hard to accept that there are good things about me that other people notice because it is the other people that also point out all the bad things I am or that I am and always will be those bad things. I'm the unchanging spots of the leopard with all those schemes and wild traits. Walk with me on this moment. I see a compliment as this, as a rose floating frozen in an Alaskan lake. And already you imagine a red thorny flower. But in my uniqueness, I am at the tips of a yellow rose with deep pink buds, and its petals linger with white swirls. Now floating in the midst of an Alaskan waters in the already winter weather, your only way to reach this beautiful rose is to swim across the lake and grab it. And imagine that no boat or sail can come to its reach before completely freezing or simply falling to pieces. Now imagine being that rose and being that different and full of wonder and hoping to be just touched and feel the warmth of life. Now take that and see the rose that hopes to be beautiful or be important, but no one has ever held it long enough to notice. And even the last bit of acknowledgement was years ago. And even the one person who held you, you who became this frozen in layers of ice elegant rose, that person only threw you in the waters you now float in, and you are in full bloom. How then could you, the rose, be sustained? How can you be of importance when you've been frozen solid in ice floating in below freezing waters for years? That is where I have become. That is where I be. That is where I have come to in my circle of life, and it has led me here. And it is here where I cannot see the dimension of truth and in compliments that I may receive because I cannot see the reality of the rose ever being able to melt the ice and feel the sun rays or the flesh of human once again. I cannot see how I went from being nothing all my life to something or someone today. And not by myself, but by other hearts made of flesh and churned by clay. I cannot believe your compliments is without any motive because it is not within the life I know for it not to be an agenda book full of checked off chores and things to do. You have you would have to teach me how to accept such a thing and to tell the voice in my head that screams, Mayday, Mayday, to just back off. It's okay to just relax. It's okay to take hold of this. And that for me would be letting my guard down. And I don't know if it's possible. And I don't know if I possess that attribute. If it is a skill I have, not get mastered. And maybe when I will no longer believe you see me as a stupid or dumb person. When you say I'm smart and funny, maybe then I won't believe you see me as ugly and repulsive. When you say I'm handsome, maybe then when I truly obtain this knowledge, I will be able to accept the compliments of the human race.